So over the next 20 minutes, we're going to go through a series of exercises to do to build out the next 90 days, to reflect on what's gone on over the last couple of months, and to make like a real big push to cram some results in before the end of the year. And then what we're going to do is condense all of them and show you something really cool on how to get them even quicker. So make sure you got a notepad, pen to hand, someone to jot down on an iPad or whatever. And like I just explained, some of these tasks are only going to last for 2 minutes. If you need more than 2 minutes, make a note next to it and come back to it. Don't just carry it on and miss out the next bit. If you're watching this on a recording, feel free to pause it, spend a little bit longer on the task, and yeah, just fill it out as you go along. So the Misogi video that'll get posted with this as well, the whole idea is that we have something to look forward to and to do, and to say, like in a couple of years' time or at the end of the year, that 2024 was the year where you did something. And there should be one big thing. Maybe it's lost the weight that you wanted to. Maybe it's did the event that you want to. Like he says on the video, quit smoking, start up a fitness regime. Whatever it is, there's something that should define each year when you look back on, and you should be able to notice and think that's the year that I did X. So there's not going to be loads of me talking on this. The first thing that we're going to go through straight away is just looking back at what's happened or what's not happened over the last 270 odd days. You would have set some targets at the start of the year and looked at this and set some goals for you to hit. So all I'm going to do is set a timer like now for 2 minutes. I just want to jot down or at least think on what's gone on, what's happened, what's been good, not so good, maybe what happened when you fell off track, what kept you on track, and just think about what's gone on over the last 9 months. This is the only time during the session that we're going to look backwards and not forward. So that's really important because we don't plan our targets and our projects from the past. We look forward into the future. 2 minutes going on the clock. I just wanted to sit and scribble some bits down and have a think on and reflect on the last 9 months. Every time we go into one of these little exercises, I'm just going to take myself off screen and mute myself for the 2 minutes. So 2 minutes has begun. We've got the last 30 seconds. Don't rush it. You can come back to all these exercises later on. So if you're not finished within the next 30 seconds, not a problem. There's a reason why we're keeping it short. If you're done, just sit and chill. Maybe you've made loads of goals and targets at the start of the year, then you just realizing now looking back on what you actually set and you haven't seen them since you written them down. That's fine. There's no judgment on this. Just need to look at what's gone on or reasons why things haven't happened or even if we want them anymore. That's your 2 minutes. So have a little look over what you've written down. Again, that's the last time we're going to look back into the past because we're going to start creating what we want from the future now. And this next bit isn't any woo-woo sort of stuff. We're just going to start listing down what we want and finding ways how to get them. So next bit that we have. So looking at behaviors and what we actually want and the goals and the targets that we're going to set on this little project, I want you to list down and start thinking about the kind of person who has those results, has got those results already, and what they do. So for the next 2 minutes, as an example, if we've got someone, if your goal is around running, for example, that wants to hit a marathon, what sort of things does a marathon runner do? How do they look? What do they do day to day? What aren't they doing? What are they doing? What sort of like rituals and behaviors have they got? And that's what I wanted to list down. It's really important that we get clear on the things that we should be doing to get the results that we want, because our behavior and our patterns of behavior, they're there to protect us. Um, so the next 2 minutes, which I'll start in a second, write down what sort of traits, habits, what they get up to for the next 2 minutes. This is looking at someone who has the results that you want already. Off you go. If you're not sure on any of this, again, just shout out, pop it in the chat, pop your hand up. So 2 minutes. If it's about getting ready for an event, if it's about getting holiday ready and stuff like that, it's writing down the things that the person who has those results already does, how they act, maybe go even deeper into how they look, how they dress, stuff like that. But it's finding the behaviors that they have and bridging the gap. You could write down one thing, you could write down 100 things. It's up to you. How do they show up? How do they start the day? What happens when they hit a patch where they're struggling? What sort of wins do they get? You got another 30 seconds again. If you don't get this completed, just make sure you've got the question or you started on it and to put an asterisk next to it and come back. The reason why we're doing 2 minute little sprints is just so you're jotting down the first things that come to your mind and we can flow through the exercises. Okay, there's your 2 minutes on that point. Again, if you're not finished with it or you want to come back to it, just make a little note on that. And the next bit is a really, really simple but big question. And I ask this a lot to people. I post it in the groups that we have because really, really important. We know what we should be doing. We know what we're not doing. So the question is, what are you avoiding and what do you know you need to start doing? So what are you avoiding? What have you put off? What aren't you doing that you know you should be doing? And you'll have an answer straight away for that. Again, 2 minutes, just jotting down the things. And there's no beating yourself up on this. You're just listing the things because these are going to serve you and help you out later on. You might have loads of things. It might just be one thing. What are you avoiding? What have you put off? What are you putting off? What do you know you should be doing? And most of the time, these will just reel off your tongue and you'll have a couple of them. Don't go mad and start listing loads. And although these might be the answers as to what you need to start doing, we'll go into how to do them and how to stay consistent later on. We've got another minute to go. They've got 45 seconds. If you are done, just look back at what you written down for how the person that you'd like to be or the results that you'd like, and just have a look at what you put down for the things you avoid and see if there's any comparison between the two. So got another 20 seconds to go. This one should be the easiest one to answer. Okay, so last bit in like writing down the bits that we like and work towards, and then after that we're going to get clear into like 30, 60, 90-day targets. So what I want you to do for this next bit, give you a little bit of a helping hand and how to word it, because it's easier to finish the sentence. So this is creating from the future. So imagine it's now the 31st of December. We are on the last day of the year, or even it's the 1st of 2025. And you're looking back on the last 90 days from when we're doing this right now. And I want you to write down what you've had, what you've got, the results you've had. And this can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be fitness, weight, health related. It could be anything. If you want to do this for like a work thing, whatever, it's up to you. But the sentence to help you out with this, 2 minutes on the clock, is it's the 31st December and I ... So finish that sentence. It's the 31st December and I... Again, we're against the clock with this for 2 minutes for speed. So the first thing that comes to your mind, jot it down. If you read it back over and want to cross it out, you can do. It's the 31st of December and I... Still got another minute, so if you want to go a little bit longer into that or add some other bits, you can do. Have a play around with it and just write whatever you like. No one else is going to see these. But it's almost like a little bit of a game where you can just write down a story that you like to see happen and just be playful with it. It's the 31st of December and if you haven't got an answer to it, at least have the question written down so you can come back to it. Another 30 seconds. While waiting, if you want to pop anything that you put in the chat, feel free to do so. Okay, time's up. So we've had a little play around with what we'd like to see happen and just looking forward into the future and hopefully just getting your brains thinking a little bit differently and start to get excited about what you can achieve. Now, what we're going to do is go into set targets. And what I want you to do and look at this is like a project. So this is going to be a project you're going to have for 90 days. There's certain days and deadlines that you're going to have to hit, which are 30, 60, and 90. This isn't a goal to hit at the end of 90 days. You are working on a project, and I want you to think of it as a project. The reason being, things go wrong on a project. It's not always plain sailing. Things will pop up. Things will go and happen quicker than you expect. Things might take a bit of a nosedive halfway through. It's going to happen. And what's really important now we're moving on to this part of the session is that you're honest with what's going on, what you've got coming up in the sense of Christmas, nights out and things like that. So if you have put like one massive weight loss goal to drop a couple of stone, then that's fine. But then if you also know that you've got 3 nights out a week, out drinking, eating, whatever, every week up until Christmas, and don't set yourself up to fail. So for this next bit, we're setting a 90-day goal, write it down, and then I want you to put down some little bits that maybe you should be aware of and add into this project along the way. So the first thing that we're starting with is a 90-day target. So tell me by putting on the paper what you want to see happen in 90 days. We've got 2 minutes on the clock. Off we go. Don't worry about ways to get there and that just yet. We can sort that out soon. What do you want to hit in 90 days' time? 3 months. This can be anything as well. It doesn't have to be health, fitness, food related. But again, there's a bit of honesty and just being real with yourself. If you know you've got tons on, then adjust what you're trying to hit in line with that. 90 days. And if you want to put this into like three different sections, like we've done with some people already, where you've got like a, I don't know, a health, fitness, and work or life thing where you're going to pop in three goals that you're going to do three different things. It's up to you. If you're quite happy just basing this on health and fitness, then that's fine. You got another 30 seconds to go. If you want to share some in the chat, what you've set as a 90-day target, you can do. Okay, 10 seconds, and we're going to move on to the next bit. We're going to keep going through this and flowing through this, 2 minutes per question. The next bit is, you might have guessed, 60 days. So 2 months' time. Now, this could be something different that you're going to hit before we get to December. This can be something related in like a check-in along the way that if you want to hit X in 90, then you need to be at this point in 60. 2 minutes on the clock. What do you want to see happen in the next 2 months? End of November. This could be you getting to a certain position that you know you'd be happy at before December happens. Try and keep your pen moving as well. If you start doubting yourself or whatever, just chuck it down, leave it on the paper, and then read it back and see what it's like. But don't stop yourself from putting something through any doubts. Then once this minute ends, we're going to roll into a 30-day plan of action. If you're done with your 60-day and happy with it, don't go and write loads and loads and loads and loads. Just keep it super clear so we know where we are going. If you want to start on a 30-day, what do you want to see happen in 30 days' time? What do you want to have done, kept up, started, done less of? And these can be really, really simple answers, or they can be as in depth as you want. It's up to you. So make a start on your 30-day. End of October, what are you going to have done, committed to, seen happen, change? There's 30 days, time has started on this. If you're done, just have a read over your notes of what you've put so far. If you want to expand on anything, you can do. 30 days, end of October. If you have no idea at all, but you've got the other two, then what's a 30-day piece of that? Where do you need to be at in 30 days' time to make sure you get the results at the end? And we're going to move on to this bit in a second, but just have a read over as well and make sure that we haven't got like any loose terms like being healthier, getting fitter, if they're on your list, mark next to them and come back to it later on and tell yourself exactly what that means. How does that look? Again, if you're not done, just put an asterisk next to it. You come back to it later on. What I want to do now, we watched the Misogi video before. What is the one thing that you're gonna do over the next 3 months, over the next week, over the next 30 days, whenever, at some point now, over the next 90 days? This is thinking a bit more differently. So what are you going to commit to doing? Some examples, you don't need to use them. Climbing Snowdon, always up there. Climbing Snowdon, get up with MI, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be that. Just one thing that you're going to get done and do. Maybe it's like someone said this morning, like 30 days of no alcohol. Maybe it's climbing a mountain. Maybe it's going for a certain distance on a walk. Maybe it's to do one run. What one thing that's a little bit bigger and a bit of like a stretch for you can you do? And this should be pushing the boat now. And that's what we're going to start doing because we've got a list of things that we're going to hit and do. We're going to start pushing the boat a little bit more and challenging you. And that might be one of the trickier questions to answer yet. So if you're not sure and you want a little think on it, put a star next to it, come back to it later on. Okay, the next bit. So moving into like actions and daily things. What I want you to set next is a minimum. So what is an absolute minimum? You've had the worst day in the world. And just as a heads up, this is where a lot of people go wrong. So you don't have this set and you just have the ceiling and not the floor. So what's an absolute minimum you can get done daily? If you have a shocker of a month, 30 days, what can you still get done 30 days? And they're all the basic things. So there'll be something around food, there'll be something around movement, and there'll be something around water, probably. Even if it's one of them, where you can just put, even if it's the worst day ever, I know I can still get 1.5 liters of water drank. And now what I want to set is the ceiling. So what is like the max ideal days? Like what do you want to commit to doing every single day if everything goes to plan, the days are good, going ahead and stuff like that. And then you've got two different ranges to work to. So rather than just having, I'm going to hit this, and then when you don't hit it one day or 2 or 3 days, everything falls off. We don't have that. We have a max target and we have a minimum. As long as the minimum's done every single day, you'll still get results from that. That's really important if you've got an all or nothing mindset. Nice. So yeah, what are some minimums? If I was to check in with any of you and just be like, how's your day been? It's been absolute poo. But I've still got my minimums done, which is to do this. And then on the good days, we make the most of it and we do the other bits. And that's how we're going to get consistency building, not aiming for doing loads and loads and loads and failing and cutting short. Right, we are coming towards the end of this. So the next question for you to answer, you've got your minimums, your daily minimums. Honestly, doing those enough times every single day for like 30, 60, 90 days will get you the results that you want or really close to them. So the next question is what can you do right now to get you moving? So not tomorrow morning, not whatever Friday or next Monday. What can you do right now that's going to get that moving? Don't put down like I'm going to put my trainers on and go run 10 miles, whatever tonight. It's not about that. What one thing kickstarts things tomorrow? So how does this all begin? What can you do tonight? It'll be a really, really, really small action. The first one is being on here. What's the next one? What one thing can you do that's going to help you get set up for the next 90 days that you can do straight away? Because it's all about taking action. Action's how we create motivation. And this should be something really small and simple because it's 8 o'clock at night that you can do to help you get set up for tomorrow. Maybe it's a bit of planning. Maybe it's putting your trainers out to go for a run. Maybe it's putting something in the fridge for lunch. It'll be something small. And this little bit here is going to be the tiny little domino, which then falls onto the next, onto the next, onto the next, until we're knocking down big slabs of dominoes in the future. Okay, leave a star next to this one. This one you need to do tonight. So come back to that if you haven't done it. Right, the next bit, there's only two more to go through. The next bit now. So how can we get big results? How can you get more results in the next 90 days than you have done all year? That was the title of this. By following what we've just done, but that's not it. What I want to do is to push you into like a bit of a stretch goal now and challenge you a bit more. So the idea of a stretch goal is that like the quote is about shooting for the moon. If you miss the moon, then you end up in the stars. It's the same thing with a stretch goal. Whereas if we set the bar really, really high and we aim for it and aim for it and miss it, then you're still going to end up with more than what we set out with. Example being challenge someone to lose a stone in 30 days. They didn't hit the stone, but they lost just over half the stone, which is more than what they would have lost by setting a smaller goal. So, challenge and question for you is everything that you writ down in the 90-day goal that you want to see happen and the target for the end of the project in 90 days, how can you start getting that brought in closer? What can you start doing from tonight and tomorrow morning to make a move on those results to get them in 30, 40, 50, 60 days? The challenge in the game here is to get everything that you wanted in the 90 days cut shorter into 30, 40, 50, even 60 days. 2 minutes, different ways, ideas. What can you do to bring and make the gap shorter? It's a really important question, maybe one that you want to sit with for a little bit as well. Now, this doesn't need any like crazy restrictive diets where you don't eat for 30 days or anything like that. There'll be some really small things that you're missing or overlooking or thinking that aren't important that we need to get in. And if you're not coming up with anything, just keep asking yourself the same question. How can I get what I want in 90 days, in 30, 60 days? That's the game here. If you are really, really, really struggling and not sure on this, make a note of what your 90-day target is and then ping it over to me and just say you're really not sure. But if you're reading it over your notes, you should have daily commitments now that you're going to do, which will get you damn close to your goals anyway. And then the good days, which you are going to have more of, the not so good days, we can get more done. And that's when you start speeding things up. What can you add in to help you get the results even quicker? Okay, and then your last little challenge question is just to name this project. Give it a name, give it a title. Call it whatever you want. This is a project, not a goal. You've got targets and things that you want to hit along the way on this project. And along with that comes challenges. There'll be good days, there'll be not so good days. Name the project. Someone send over the name of the project in the chat, just one. And then I know we've got some people here that come to the studio and don't come to the studio. Really important thing that we've got two big blackboards on the wall in the studios for a reason. So It's all about sharing what you're going to do. You don't have to share the exact ins and outs of what you want to achieve. It can just be shortened, or you could put something that you know what it means yourself. It doesn't have to mean anything to anyone else. But there's a really important thing here. So if we write down our goals, and we've said this on loads of workshops before, if you write down your goals and your targets on a bit of paper in your phone or whatever, then 40% more likely, just over 40% more likely to hit your targets. However, when you voice them or share them with other people, then it doubles, and we're 8% more likely to hit what we're going to say or set out to do. And there's loads of different factors around that and why. I'm not going to go into them. Next time you see the blackboard, chuck it on, have some accountability with yourself, but also have that bit extra where you're going to put it on there and be brave enough to share it with other people, and just watch how much more committed you are. And yeah, watch how easy things become. Guys, I'm going to go back through what we've touched on. That's the end of the workshop. I've got one more bit, which I'll mention in a second. You've got a name for this project. You've got different things you need to hit over it. The big thing that you're going to hit over the next 90 days, the Misogi, what's the one thing that you're going to do? The minimums, which are the most important part in this for me, even on the shittest days, the things that you're going to get done no matter what. Take care of your water intake, steps, exercise, time, whatever it'll be. Don't miss out that part, because that's the most important part. If you can have 29 out of 30 days where you've got at least that done, and just one day where you've got the other 5, then that's great. And then the other bit that maybe you should think on overnight is how to challenge yourself into bringing these goals earlier. So how are you going to get what you want in 90 days, and there'll be a way in 30 days, 40 days, 50 days, 60 days. How are you going to do that? And then, yeah, naming the project. I'll read some out. Project JLo, Project Me, Myself, and I. Project Summit, the best version of me. Project Get My Life Back. Nice. And there's a reason why it's set up as a project, because, like I explained at the start, there's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be highs, lows. There's going to be times where you don't want to do it. There's going to be times where you're loving it and find it easy. It's all part of it. Now, the last thing I want to touch on, this isn't like any hard sell or whatever. We've got a mindset group that we run, and this is something that we do at the end of every quarter. Open the doors on it. The doors close tomorrow night, and then whoever's in there is with us for the next quarter, so 90 days. And what happens in there, people share their commitments. They're accountable to themselves. They get pushed by us. It's a safe space to ask questions, to get support, and more on the things and why you're not doing the things you should be doing, rather than telling you what to do. I know some of the people that have been in the group before, or are still in the group, that are on the call, and they might come up with a problem, and rather than give them a solution around foods or something like that, we'll find out a real reason what's holding them back and push them on to create more results. So if you're interested and want some more information on that, you could drop me a message. It works out the same as a brew, well, less than a brew in Starbucks per week to come on board with that. It's completely separate from anything else, and you might not even have seen or heard of it before, because we open the doors every quarter and it closes again tomorrow night. If you want more info, message me on that. Look over what you've written before you stop and go back to doing whatever you're doing. That's really important. If you've got asterisks next to the questions, sit with them before the end of tomorrow night. Do not let this be another thing that you stayed up to watch on Zoom and not come back to. It's really important. The next 90 days, you can have what you want. Just back yourself a little bit and have some absolute foundations and minimums that you can get done each day. And then the good days, make the most of them, and then just start speeding results up. I'm going to end the recording. If anyone's got any questions or whatever, I'll just pop your hand up, or just wave at the screen or something, or pop it in the chat, and I'll answer them.